Tonight we are joined by Emmy Dillon. She's a member of the San Diego 99s. She's an Air Race Classic director, and she's also the director of education of the Derby. Emmy is currently a 777 pilot, and she's here to talk to us tonight about the Air Derby. And here's Emmy.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to talk tonight. I'm so thrilled to be here on behalf of the Air Race Classic to share about our fall flying event, the ARC Air Derby. So just a quick summary about our Derby. So it's a create your own route style of flying experience. It's flown in one day in daytime VFR only. The ARC Air Derby was an alternate event designed when the traditional race was canceled for the second year in a row in 2021 due to the ongoing pandemic at the time. So this year we're celebrating our third Derby, and I'm here tonight to give you a little bit of our history of the Derby, what it is, how it's different from the Air Race Classic, who races, and give you a slight peek into what it's like in the day of flying the Derby. And then we'll end it with a little bit about the qualifications for you, your team, and your airplane. So my name is Emmy Dillon. I'm the Air Race Classic Director of Education. I've been racing since 2015, and I've been on the board since 2020. And I'm just so excited to have raced my fifth Air Race Classic this year back in June. So this year will also be my second year flying the ARC Air Derby, and I am so excited to be flying with my boyfriend in his airplane. It's called a Sukhoi Su-29. So super excited to be able to fly with him. And that's another beautiful thing that we'll talk about that's so special and unique about this Air Race ARC Air Derby. So to get a better idea of who's here tonight, I'd like you to go into the chat and put in your level of understanding or appreciation of what the ARC Air Derby is. Are you a former Derby pilot? Have you flown in other derbies or poker runs? Maybe you're interested in participating, or you're curious and don't even know where to start. So I'll take a moment and go ahead and type in what your association with the ARC Air Derby is. I love to see the diversity of people here tonight. I see some former Derby pilots that are in here, as well as a lot of people interested in learning more. So I'm so thankful that you have all joined us tonight. Really excited to share what we have going on for fall of 2024. So one thing that you'll see on a lot of our logos for the ARC Derby is something called the twist on tradition. So let's talk about that a little bit. So going back to the pandemic, I'm going to introduce you to how the ARC Air Derby was created. So in 2021, the Air Race Classic race had been canceled for the second time in a row due to travel and other restrictions at the time. So the Air Race Classic needed a way to figure out how to continue its mission without the travel requirements while also meeting social distancing protocols. So an event was needed to be created that could be flown local to wherever the pilot may be and anywhere in the world. So therefore, voila, the ARC Air Derby was born. So like the traditional Air Race Classic race, the ARC Air Derby is a VFR flown flight during daylight hours by a team of at least 2 women pilots, but the similarities end there, and we'll discuss the differences in a couple of slides. So in the ARC Air Derby's first year, there were 178 pilots making up 85 teams, with teams from all around the US and abroad. The winners were Emma, Emily, and Regine from Western Michigan University, and they flew a Cirrus SR-20. But another cool kind of like fun connection to the 99s is that 57% of the racers in 2021 and 73% of the racers in 2022 were 99s. So we hope we can continue to grow that percentage of 99s participating in this year 2024's ARC Air Derby. So the ARC Air Derby, so what is it? It's an exhilarating one-day create-your-own route challenge that offers pilots around the world the opportunity to test their piloting, flight planning, and navigation skills in a fun and engaging event format. This is actually a co-ed competition, and it requires teams to consist of at least 2 pilots, with only one necessarily required to be female or a female student pilot. So this inclusivity and diversity of the event extends to the types of aircraft you can fly, as it's open to almost any other aircraft under 12,500 pounds. So that includes light sport, experimental, powered gliders, and turbocharged aircraft. I mentioned the Sukhoi Su-29 earlier that my boyfriend has that we'll be flying in this year. That's an experimental airplane.
Give me
So,
one reason
again,
to stay
so
here,
much more inclusivity and diversity
and I'll
allowed
turn right
in
back
this ARC
around.
event that makes it so exciting. So whether you're a seasoned aviator or a
Give me
new
one
pilot,
reason to
that's what the
stay
ARC Air Derby
here,
promises,
and
an
I'll
unforgettable
turn right
adventure that
back
combines
around.
strategy, skill, and camaraderie in the skies.
Said
The
I
ARC
don't
Air
wanna
Derby has
leave you
allowed the ARC Classic to
lonely.
continue its mission of
You gotta
encouraging and
make me
promoting
change my
and
mind.
demonstrating, so many verbs, encouraging, promoting, and demonstrating women in
Baby, I got your
women in
number.
aviation, and women in STEM.
Oh, and I know
while
that
also
you got
promoting legacy
mine.
air racing.
You know that I called you.
Is the ARC Air Derby
I called too many times.
The short answer is it's not really the
You can call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me.
So it's not quite like the full transcontinental airplane.
Give me one reason to steer, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to steer, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind.
Racers use strategy to beat their assigned paths.
I don't want no one to squeeze me. They might take away my life.
Beat your handicap speed the best, and that's how
I don't want no one to squeeze me.
whoever beats their
They might take away my
We're
life.
here to talk about the ARC Air Derby, so let's talk about that.
I just want someone to hold me. Oh, and rock me through the night.
Literally, a rally derby is a flight. Questions or
The youthful heart can love you, yes, and give you what you need. I said this youthful heart can love you, oh, and give you what you need. But I'm too old to go chasing you around, wasting my precious energy. Give me one reason to stay here, yes, and I'll turn right back around. Give me one reason to stay here, oh, I'll turn right back around. Said I don't wanna leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, just give me one reason. Oh, give me just one reason why. Baby, just give me one reason. Oh, give me just one reason why I should stay. Said I told you that I loved you, and there ain't no more to say.
So to win the ARC Air Derby, you have to fly the closest to your submitted flight plan times. And I have said that previously. It's all based around your flight planned times versus the Air Race Classic because it's based around your handicap speed. However, whoever beats their handicap speed the best wins for the Air Race Classic. So you can see how the ARC Air Derby is more about time and the Air Race Classic, the focus is on your speed, beating your speed. So that's another huge difference between those two events. The ARC Air Derby, all pilots can participate versus the Air Race Classic. Traditionally, it's only women pilots. So the ARC Air Derby is greatly expanding the inclusivity of the pilot group that's allowed to participate. Another big difference, of course, is the ARC Air Derby. The routes can be flown anywhere in the world. We've had pilots participate in New Zealand before, and we'll be able to take a look at their route here in a couple of slides. So it's really cool to be able to participate in such a historic community all around the world, wherever you may be. Versus the Aries Classic is traditionally located within the lower 48 of the US. Sometimes in Canada, sometimes in Mexico, if you look back at some of the history. So the Aries Classic Air Derby is much more available to pilots wherever they may be, which is so fantastic about the 99s as we have so many chapters worldwide. So if you're not located within the US, that's okay. You can absolutely still participate in the ARC Air Derby. I've mentioned this before, but the ARC Air Derby also allows most aircraft under 12,500 pounds to fly. Versus compared to the Air Race Classic, the Air Race Classic is open to single or twin engine airplanes, but they're usually certified in normal or utility category. They have to have normally aspirated engines and they have a horsepower restriction. You have to be able to fly at full takeoff power as well. There's a lot more restrictions as to the type of aircraft that can fly in the Air Race Classic, but the ARC Air Derby, most airplanes under 12.5. So keep that in mind if you've got a fun experimental airplane that you wouldn't necessarily normally be able to race. Now's your chance to join us at the ARC Air Derby. So who flies in the ARC Air Derby? Of course, traditionally with the Air Race Classic, it's only been women pilots. But the ARC Air Derby is so unique in the way that it's an event for all pilots. So new for 2023 from last year that we're bringing forward with us in 2024 is now the event allows for mixed gendered teams of all ages and all walks of life. So a team is a minimum of 2 pilots. You can also include a third or a fourth person or teammate if your airplane accommodates it. At least 1 pilot in your team must be a female pilot or a female student pilot. But top finishers range anywhere between pilots that have 50 hours of PIC all the way up to veteran ATPs. So, we have teachers and nurses, doctors, retirees, students, engineers, entrepreneurs, professional businesswomen, professional pilots, air traffic controllers, authors, military service members. I could literally keep going for probably another 10 minutes of how many different types of people that participate in this event with us. And that's what makes it so unique, and that's what builds a strong camaraderie, is just how different we are and what we can all learn from each other. But we also have a lot of international competitors participate. We've had pilots from Canada and New Zealand participate so far in the ARC Air Derby, and we really hope to be able to grow the map of participants, because isn't that kind of cool that we can do this anywhere in the world? I think that's so unique about us and this event. We've also had a huge assortment of mother-daughter, sibling teams, and a whole bunch of life partner or spouse and other family-connected teams. And then, of course, a large percentage of our racers are 99s, which deepens our connection, even further, because originally our organizations were deeply connected all the way back to 1929. So this is another fantastic event connecting 99s all around the world. Colleges are also let me back up one side. There we go. Okay, so colleges are also a huge participation within the Aries Classic and the ARC Air Derby. So of course you can see Auburn University has had quite the presence with us, but so has Embry-Riddle, Northwestern Michigan College, LeTourneau University, Indiana State, The Ohio State University, Western Michigan, and Southern Illinois University have all competed in the ARC Air Derby thus far. And just like with our 99s participation, we really hope to see increased participation with our collegiate racers, as this has such a positive experience for them and their instructors. It allows them to build very unique experiences outside of the flight training bubble. Now, teams can fly an array of single engine or multi-engine airplanes in the ARC Air Derby. The most popular airplanes you see here on the screen. So things like Cessnas, Pipers, Cirruses, Moonies, Beechcraft, and so many other makes and models. And we have so many, participate of that variety, even outside of those standard make and models that I've listed. Airplane age ranges anywhere from the 1940s, 50s to brand new built airplanes, even a couple months old that still have that new airplane smell to them. We've even had airplanes like that open cockpit Waco you see in the upper left-hand corner participate, and some airplanes that are just a few weeks old. So there's quite the variety of airplanes that are able to participate. So that begs the next question of how can all of these different types of airplanes be flying against each other in this event? It's a competition, right, with airplanes. So why do we allow such a variety? Essentially, you're the one flying against your own flight planned route. So you are designing your route and your flight plan down to the seconds. So whoever flies the closest to their flight plan time wins. And that's why we're able to have such a variety of airplanes participate in the ARC Air Derby. So let's talk more about what it takes to win. How do you win the ARC Air Derby? So to win the event, you have to achieve the lowest percentage of errors. So I've previously mentioned that whoever flies the closest to their flight plan time wins. So let's talk about that and translate it into a percentage of errors. The closer you are to your flight plan's time, the smaller the percentage of error. The total time will be determined by adding all the leg times of the flight that you've flown. As you can see on the slide, you can see that there are 5 legs for the ARC Air Derby. So your route has to be at least 5 legs, and most people stick to 5 legs because it's shorter and you can easily do it within that 3 to 4 hour range depending on your airplane speed. So the difference between the submitted flight plan times and the actual flown flight times are indicated as percentage errors. And the final score is the sum total of the percentage of errors of the 5 legs, if that makes some sense. So you're taking each leg, you're taking your flight plan time and your actual time, and you identify the percentage of error for each specific leg, and then you add up all 5 legs to create your total percentage error. So each team flies with a flight log recording product, something like ForeFlight or Bad Elf or a similar device these similar devices have to be able to allow for a .csv or limo file to be downloaded to determine the time crossing each lat long for each starting and ending point for each of your legs. I prefer to use ForeFlight. That's been very successful with me, but other products like Stratus's as well is another good suggestion. Our website and our rules will also help you through which type of product might be best for you that will work within the ARC Air Derby scoring system. So because each team submits its own flight plan times, this allows us to account for factors such as the age of the aircraft and the engine, the exterior condition, weight of the equipment, experimental or non-certified equipment, and so on. So what you see here is a results report from the 2022 winner. So the first place was a 1982 Cessna 182 from New Zealand. Their winning percentage of error was 0.803%. Now, comparing that to our 7th place participant was a 2007 Cessna 182 who had a percentage of error of 7.929%. So you can see that even with a newer airplane, with how we fly this based around the flight plan times, the newer airplane doesn't necessarily, mean that they're going to beat the older airplane, because we're talking about flight plan times and comparing your flight plan to the actual time flown. So you can see how that really kind of evens out the playing field there. So let's talk about designing your route. So in the ARC Air Derby, teams have the exciting task of creating your own route. So here's how it works. It's simply put this way. So first of all is your route legs. Your route legs are defined by the lat longs of airports, waypoints, or user waypoints that you create yourself. You have a start and end point. So the route must start and end at the same location. But the starting and ending point, that same point, doesn't have to be an airport. It can be a waypoint, it could be a VOR, it could be a lat long that you pick. Whatever floats your boat will work for this as well, as long as you start and end at the same point. The leg requirements. So the route must consist of 5 legs, with each leg being a minimum of 65 nautical miles. Now, a very commonly asked question is, okay, Emmy, but is there a maximum? No, there really isn't a maximum. It's pretty much whatever your aircraft can handle and whatever makes the most sense for the performance of your route itself. So keeping that in mind will help you determine what makes the most sense for your route and what kind of adventure and day you want to have while you're doing this. Another question is crossing state lines. Can you cross state lines? Absolutely. Add to the adventure. When I did my derby back in 2021, we started in California, flew to Arizona, and made our way back. So you could absolutely cross state lines. I think it adds to the adventure of it overall. Now, there is one thing you have to do along your route, requiring a stop. So there has to be at least one airport along your route that we call a must stop airport or a must land airport. So you have to land at one airport that's other than your start and end point. So let's say that if you start out of CRQ, out of Carlsbad, if you choose to start and end at that point, you also will have to land at another airport along your route. So that's something to consider. Personally, I like to start at waypoints, start and end at waypoints, and then I'll pick an airport along the way. Um, Adds to the fun of it. And lastly, route flexibility. So each leg may have no more than one bend to avoid airspace or terrain, but it does allow a bend. So just make sure that when you're picking your route and designing it, that no more than one bend per leg. So in my case, Southern California, we have a lot of terrain and we have a lot of airspace. So having that single bend in my legs being an option for me really helps make sure that I'm able to complete my route and build it successfully. So by designing your own route, teams can tailor their challenge. You can experience new locations, navigate diverse geography, overall making the ARC Air Derby an unforgettable adventure in the skies. So let's take a look at some good versus bad route designs. So these three examples here are great examples of good routes. You can actually see that route there on the left is the route from New Zealand, and I just think it's so cool. You'll also see it looks very similar to the route that's on the right, which is in Florida. And it's okay if your route looks like another team's, that's perfectly fine. It's as long as you're flying your team's route, that's all that matters, right? Now, another common question I get is, will you be able to see the other team's routes? And the routes are not shared. I'm sure if you wanted to, get a group together and design routes together, that's different. And I suppose that could be considered. I'll give an example. We've had one chapter in the Southwest section participate before where I believe their chapter sent in 3 teams. So they had a planning party and they took their time, all 3 teams got together and worked on it together. And I think that's super unique to be able to see. And it's also adding to the fun of it as well. Now, I love the one in the middle, simple pentagon shape. It absolutely works as well. So take a second to take a look at these, kind of think about how your route might play out in your local area. Now, this is an example of a bad route, and there's a couple of different reasons why, and I won't get into it, but you can see how it's really just a big triangle, and that's not really the intent of the race. You can see that there are truly 5 legs. However, you you want to have some variability in the route itself. So that's where maybe like a star shape or a crisscross shape or something else might make a little bit more sense. Now, you'll have to read in the rules to be sure that whatever design that you come up with fits within the rules, of course, and those are available online at this time for you to examine. But I believe, if I remember correctly, that there is a heading difference requirement for each leg, meaning that after you pass a waypoint, your new heading has to exceed, like 15 degrees. You have to move at least 15 degrees from your present heading or something along those lines. So the rules will define further what a good route looks like for them. But as you can see by this example, because it's more triangular shaped, it doesn't really truly meet the intended goal of the 5 legs. I love showing this picture. I think this is a fantastic picture of just all of the past ARC Air Derby routes flown, at least within the US, and you can see some in the islands there in the Southeast. And I just think it's really cool to see where we've been and look how much of the country we have left to cover. So I really hope that there are some 99s out there in all of these other locations, as well as those that have been flown in before, that we can get much more participation. And I would love to see this whole map full of ARC Air Derby routes. One takeaway that I would love for everybody to like truly take to heart is turning your derby into an adventure. So you can see my team from 2021. I was team 22 and I flew with some amazing ladies, some dear friends of mine. I had another ATP with me. I had another commercial pilot and I had a student pilot. And to be able to share this with them and have this adventure, it was amazing. We all flew in Southern California, but all three of the other ladies didn't live in the same state as me. In fact, none of the three of them lived in the same state either. So just through other connections and networking, I was able to create this team, and we came together in Southern California and we had a whole girls' week. We had a planning week. We prepped. We also enjoyed ourselves, went to the beach, got an Airbnb. It was really an adventure of a lifetime, and I'm very, very thankful for it. And that's why I continue to participate. And by some of these other pictures, you can also see more adventures that some of the other ladies have had and all the different parts of the country that they've flown and some of the amazing views that they've had. So, of course, the Derby is a challenge and it's fun and you get to win prizes, but you can also turn it into an adventure and something to take away and something to remember, for your lifetime. So let's talk more about how it works, the whole process. We'll take you through it. So I'm going to take you through the registration to flying the routes and everything in between. So usually every year the participants are a little bit more than half first timers and the rest are returning pilots coming back to fly with their friends. So I'd say there's also an equal percentage of Air Race Classic participants that are also participating in this event as well. You get a lot of crossover, but I really hope to see many more first timers this year. So the process starts on August 15th. That's when registration opens, and you'll have between then and September 20th to register yourself and your team. So registering yourself and your team involves submitting your pilot documents and verifying that you and your team meet the qualifications and pretty much prove that you're not only legal per the FAA, but you're also legal, if you will, per the Derby rules. And those, again, are posted on our website for you to be able to take a look at to see if you're eligible and if you have an airplane that's eligible. So once you and your team are registered, then you move on to the airplane. So you'll need to register your airplane by submitting documentation such as registration, airworthiness certificates, insurance, and documentation of required maintenance for your airplane. And that may be different depending on if you have an experimental aircraft or a certified aircraft. So after you get the airplane registered, the registration process is over and you can start having more fun. So the first thing that you kind of have to start with is some briefings. So there are some briefings. I know death by PowerPoint, nobody likes that, but here's why we do the briefings. It's how we fly this safely. So we're going to talk about safety. We're going to talk about route design, talk about how to record your data, how to download it and submit it, any additional logistical planning and finalizing of your route before you fly, things like that. But this also emphasizes one of our biggest mission goals of aviation education. So it sounds kind of boring when I talk about it on a webinar like this, but it truly is a lot of fun. It's a really fun process to be a part of. I learn something every time I do it. So it's just a part of it, and you'll be able to take away a lot and become a better pilot because of it. So the next thing you're going to do is design your route. So this is where you start by taking a look at the rules and some of the data that you've learned from that briefing that you see there, that contestant briefing on the 24th of September. Then you can start designing your route. My suggestion, I usually try to have three routes that I can pick from, and I'll kind of submit them in like my favorite order. It's hard to describe like what's my favorite, but in the moment when you design it, you'll identify ones that are like your favorite. So I'll submit my top choice to to the scoring team, and they will let me know if that's acceptable per the rules. And if not, That's okay because I've already designed 2 others. So I'll just submit them as I need to, or I'll make suggested changes based on what the feedback that I get from the scoring team. Once your route's designed and approved, you can finally focus on flying. And this is where the fun truly, truly begins. So let's move on to the Derby Day. All right, so Derby Day. So you have this 2-week period. It's tend to think it's about 2 weeks period to be able to do it. It actually might be a little bit less, might be closer to 10 days. So you have from the 27th of September to the 6th of October to be able to do your, to fly your derby. And remember, because it's in one day, that's okay. So I'll talk you through it. So the first thing you're going to do on your derby day that you've picked is verify the weather and the route that you're going to fly. So, of course, based on the picture that you see there on the slide, that team may not want to fly that day because they've got a lot of weather, and that's okay. So, you and your team may have decided that you were going to fly on Saturday because you guys all had the day off and that's where it aligned. But if the weather's bad, that's okay. You can pick another day. I will say, though, that once you submit your flight plan times, as you can see, which is that second step there, once you submit your flight plan times, you do have to fly that day. So I just verify, double check, triple check even to make sure that the weather will be good enough for when I want to fly that day before I fly my derby route. Now, once I know I'm good to go, that's when I start filling out my flight plan with all of the times. Now, you can see there on the kind of the lower right-hand side of the screen that that is what you will submit. That Excel spreadsheet is what you will submit with your lat longs and your waypoints, as well as your flight plan times. So the first step, of course, weather. You're going to fill out your flight plan with all of your times and you're going to submit it and then you go fly. So the Derby day, it's just like any other flight. You're going to check the weather, check the NOTAMs, check everything you need to, check TFRs, all the above, make sure you're good to go. Then you'll submit your flight plan just like you would on any other flight and then you go fly. So I love that picture in the upper left-hand corner, seeing the mountains. I think it's beautiful. And again, this is just something so unique about participating in this event. You get to, see the country at a lower level outside of the flight levels. I fly a big airliner, and so I see the world from 30,000 feet all the time. And to be able to see the world from a couple thousand feet is just so much fun. I love to be able to do it. So you get to see so much. You get to, go have fun at your must land airport. You can see some of these gals here having a lot of fun at where they stopped. Have lunch, enjoy the time. A common question I get is, well, do I have to do a quick turn at my must land airport? Nope, you don't have to do a quick turn. Take as much time as you need, but do remember you have to make sure you do this in daytime VFR. So as long as you meet the rules, nothing says you have to do a quick turn. You can enjoy and have some lunch. I think it's a little fun that way too. And then, of course, once your route is done, you've finished, you've passed your stop point, you've landed back at your home base, put the airplane away, that's when you download and submit your data. Now, the steps to do that will be covered in that contestant briefing. And of course, you'll be able to ask any of the Derby officials your questions along the way. They're always open to questions. So that's really it. You're going to register yourself, your team, your airplane. You're going to design your route. You're going to show up on Derby Day. You're going to check your weather, submit your flight plan, go fly, enjoy the views, enjoy the must stop airport, enjoy all of it, come back and submit your data. It's truly fun that way. All right. So, okay, you've been hearing me talk about how it works and all that, but let's talk about why flying the ARC Derby is so worth your time and investment. So first of all, it's a one-day event. You get to enjoy the thrill of an air race and air derby, but all in one day. So it fits perfectly within busy schedules. I have a busy schedule too myself flying for the airlines, but because this is one day, I can so easily fit in wherever I can in between my trips. So even though, crazy schedule or not, you can always fit it in. The second reason is you've got manageable flight times. So within 3 or 4 hours of flight time, it's really cost effective if you're going to rent an airplane or if you're considering operating expenses as well. So it's much more manageable within a day if you're dealing with a lot of weather, or if you're also considering the cost side of it, of course, that this is much more cost effective because it is only, anywhere between that 3 to 4 hour range to be able to complete it. There's also, of course, the local convenience. So you're flying in your local area, you're avoiding any hassle about traveling or the expense of traveling to and from a distant event. So it's your space, you know it so well, and where you live, it's where you're comfortable. So it's very, very convenient in that way as well. The flexible timing, kind of talking, going back to that 1 day event feature, right? So you fly on your own schedule within that chunk of days that you're eligible to fly your route. And so you can save your PTO. That's so precious, right? There's not, it feels like there's never enough PTO for everything you want to do, right? So in this case, you get to do it wherever it fits into your schedule on your off time. It's much more inclusive, as an event, the Derby is. You can bring more people along than you can in some other events. So bring your instructor, bring your friends, your family, fellow students, make it a whole memorable group adventure. And, remember, it's a co-ed, mixed gendered, however you want to phrase it, event. So, it can be with your girlfriends. It can also be with, your guy friends. You can bring whoever. I'm flying with my boyfriend. So, it'll be a great opportunity for all to just get everybody to enjoy and experience kind of this challenge of flying. Another, super cool one that I like is the cross country requirements. Um, let me change my slide here. Sorry about that. There's all kinds of cross country requirements for, commercial things like that. So you can knock it out while you're doing this. Get your flight instructor to come with you, go do a long cross country. It all counts for both of you. So, you're getting outside the flight training bubble as well. So this is another unique way to build your flight time that way. You can also, if you are building flight time as, especially like towards your commercial, if you're trying to build time for your commercial, or if you already have your commercial and you're trying to get to those ATP mins, this is an awesome way to build your flight time that way as well. It's fun, it's competitive, you can get prizes. So if you already have to build flight time, why not do something fun while you're doing it? And then if this is more unique to the colleges, but if you participate in the NIFA flight team, this can very easily be a great opportunity for nav practice. So the ARC Air Derby offers a flexible, accessible, and enjoyable flying experience for pilots all over the world of all levels, with plenty of opportunities to build skills and flight time. So there's lots of words on the screen, but I'm going to talk you through some of the pilot qualifications for you and your team. Now, I do have to say you want to read the rules because those have the complete list of qualifications, and that the rules are listed on the website, and you can download it super easily. Now, there are a few big ticket items to be aware of. So the first one being that each team consists of 2 or more pilots, and at least one of those pilots must be a female pilot or female student pilot. The assigned team PIC must hold a glider, sport, or higher airman certificate, minimum of 50 hours PIC, logged in the category and class of the airplane that you're going to fly during the Derby. And you have to make sure you have valid medical credentials as appropriate for the certificate that you have. Now, co-pilots and teammates, they can hold a student pilot or higher airman certificate. However, if the co-pilot is to act as PIC, they have to, have the required ratings and certifications, endorsements, whatever is appropriate for your airplane, to be able to fly it. Or if you're under the direct supervision of a flight instructor, that's also acceptable as well, of course. Now, all team members and aircraft, you have to comply with all FARs or whatever aviation regulations are appropriate for the route within the country that you are participating in. That's a mouthful. So bottom line is you have to follow the rules of the FAA if you're in the US, or whatever the aviation regulating organization is for the country that you're flying in. Now, I will say it is limited to 99 teams. So definitely make sure you're getting your team registered as soon as possible. Because, a couple years ago, I mean, we had 85 teams. We were so close to that, 99 team limit. So get your teams together. But let's say we max out over 99. That's okay. We take a wait list as well. So definitely get your team and your friends together. So now talking about the airplane, you can see a lot less words. So it's a little bit more, it's a little bit less limiting than the pilot qualifications, especially compared to like the airplane requirements for the Air Race Classic as well. So the Derby is open to a variety of general aviation airplanes under 12,500 pounds. So that includes motorized glider, experimental, light sport, turbocharged airplanes. Now it does have to have a current annual or condition inspection, and it has to have the range to complete the minimum leg lengths required per the Derby route rules. So, 65 nautical miles is the minimum for each leg. And so make sure that your airplane is going to be able to fly the route that you design. That's the bottom line of the of what that statement says. So again, huge variety of airplanes are able to participate, and it really opens up the availability to, where you can go and what you fly in. So it adds to the fun of it. All right, so let's talk about how to get the registration process started. So you can go to our website. It's derby.airraceclassic.org, and I'll show that in a slide or two. And in the upper right-hand corner, you're going to see a blue login or account button. You'll be able to click on that, and you can follow the blue register button on there and create an account. Now, if you have an Air Race Classic account, don't create a new one. You can use your Air Race Classic account to get into the Derby account. Same credentials, same everything, just a different website. Now, once you've created your account, then you can go down to your account dashboard. That's what this kind of darker gray square is. And you'll be able to click on 2024 Derby registration. Once you click on that, you'll be able to see this blue register button. You're going to click on that and follow the whole steps through. Super simple that way. Now, I will say, when you register yourself, it's completely free. When you register your team, that's when the cost will incur. So it's I believe it's $100 per person on your team. So if you have a team of 2, it'll be $200. Now, registrations open the 15th of August through the 20th of September. So I know it says 12th. It's the 20th of September now, so that's been changed. You'll have an extra 8 days to get your registration in, which is awesome. So, in a nutshell, the ARC Air Derby is a one-day create your own route challenge. It's an opportunity for you to challenge your piloting skills, your flight planning, your navigation skills in a fun one-day event anywhere in the world. Your team can be mixed gendered, so you just have to have at least one female pilot or student pilot, remember? So you can have 2 to 4 pilots, whatever your airplane fits in, fly with your friends, fly with your family, fly with your instructors, whoever you want. And the biggest takeaway from it is fly almost any airplane anywhere. The whole process from registering all the way through can really be summed up in 5 steps. You register yourself, your team, and your airplane. You submit your route design. Once your route design is approved, you submit your flight plan, your leg times, you fly your route, and then you send in your data. And remember, whoever flies the closest to their flight plan time wins. Again, registration opens August 15th. It closes September 20th. As you can see there on the screen, it's derby.airraceclassic.org. It will be the home of all of the information that you need about the ARC Air Derby. And it's up and live and ready to go and have you register. So thank you so much for listening to me talk to you tonight. You can see we've got an email there, info@airraceclassic.org, as well as our website. So I'll leave this up for a second, and I've got a couple of commonly asked questions that I will go over with you, just in case you have anything pop up. And of course, if you have any more questions, that info@airraceclassic.org is the way to get a hold of us. So you can ask any questions that you may have. So, let's see. One commonly asked question is, can a person be a part of multiple teams or enter multiple airplanes? No, the Derby is limited to 1 team per person and 1 airplane per team. If you have any kind of last minute changes, you can work with the Air Race, the Derby officials that will help you. They've got a great team of ladies behind the scenes that will help you however they need. They want you to participate, and they'll do everything that they can to make sure that you can participate. Now, remember, it's teams only, no solos. So a team has to have a pilot and a co-pilot. And you also don't have to be a 99 to participate. That's another question is, do participants have to be 99s? No, they don't. So it'd be super great, obviously, because we're here, with the 99s. It'd be super great if you are, but it's not required at all. So again, bring in more of your friends, bring in friends of the 99s. We want to bring as many pilots as we can into this event. Let's see another question here. So, a common question about insurance is, does the liability insurance require the ARC be included? And it does, yes. So, yes, Aries Classic Inc. must be listed as an additional insured. The rules go into more details about this, and as well as our website that will step you through how to do that and why it's important that the Aries Classic is listed as additionally insured. So another question is, will the Derby system be able to manage airplane registrations that are non-US? Like, for example, if you're over in England, it might start with a G or a B, maybe, or a C in Canada, of course. I think ZK is New Zealand. Yep, we think so. But of course, if there's any issue, they'll work with you through it. They want people all over the world to participate. Same thing if your aircraft type is not listed in the current list, that's okay. All you have to do is let them know that the aircraft is not listed. Airplane@ariesclassic.org would be the email that you want to contact about any issues regarding registering your airplane. So if you have a registration issue, such as like if you have a Canadian airplane and it won't take it, or if the aircraft type you plan on flying is not listed, let airplane know. Okay, now another common question is, so when a team submits their final flight plan with the time estimates, where does it go? So you're going to email it to flightdata@airraceclassic.org the day of your flight before you fly. Now, you don't have to worry about that email right now. Once you register, all that information is given to you as well as during the briefing. But that is a common question is, what do I do with my flight plan times? You're going to submit it the day that you fly before you fly. Okay. That's all I have. If you have any more questions, you can absolutely reach out to us at info@airraceclassic.org. For airplane questions, you can email airplane@airraceclassic.org. And if you have any issues with your team, registering your team, you can contact entryadmin@airraceclassic.org. We hope to have so many of you participate. Thank you so much to the 99s for allowing me to speak to you all tonight. And I look forward to seeing you all register for the 2024 ARC Air Derby.